What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content daily. We also stream over on Twitch at This Is Aftersound, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, gonna go into my 5 biggest takeaways from the Splinterlands Town Hall. This is for the most recent one on March 2nd, 2022. And a reminder that this is not a recap. There's plenty of other content creators that do a phenomenal job with that. So make sure you go check them out and support them. This for me is just the 5 things that I kind of took notes on as I was listening and caught my attention. And I wanted to expand on a little bit more in this video format. So I have the Splinterlands Town Hall summary, the official summary from the team up here as a visual reference, as well as my handy dandy notes. So first things first, let's go. Number 1, Warner guest. So there was, I believe, Jaya Jaguar was her name, came on to talk about the Warner partnership that they have going on. And there was something there that caught my attention because again, nothing is really formalized or set up in stone for the Warner partnership. But what caught my attention was something that she mentioned when talking about the artists that could potentially, work with Splinterlands for developing their own artist ecosystems. And that's actually the takeaway that I had. She was talking about the artist token ecosystems that would be set up. Now, that to me spells more tokens. So here we go. We're going to have yet another token. And here's the thing. I don't know how connected things will be when we get to, any of those partnerships kind of actually panning out. So the good thing is that although, again, nothing is confirmed or set in stone, but Agrod was saying that if they were to do things, they probably would be on Hive, right? Again, we're not sure if that will actually be the case. Obviously, Ethereum and Solana are all a lot more popular and well known, but the team does have experience with Hive, and if they can sell Hive, then that would mean that everything would be on Hive and somewhat integrated in that sense, which could also actually give a lot of attention to Hive and maybe even boost up the platform and all of the other cool games that are happening on the platform. But like I said, my biggest takeaway was the fact that Jaya Jaguar, mentioned, or at least used the term, artist token ecosystems, which means that for anybody thinking that SPS and DEC are going to be the mainstays for these artists, I highly doubt it. Unless the artist is actually a fan and a player and supporter of Splinterlands, I cannot see them utilizing DEC and SPS within whatever kind of artist ecosystem that they are creating for their fans. Because keep in mind, at the end of the day, this is for artists to connect with their fans, and they are hiring Splinterlands to help develop that partnership and create the infrastructure for that partnership. Now, what Splinterlands and the Splinterlands team is saying that they're going to do, and I do believe them that they will try to the best of their ability, is that everything they work towards is always going to try and bring as much value to Splinterlands asset holders. So again, I don't know what this looks like. For me, the easiest thing, if these end up being 2 separately closed ecosystems, is maybe some kind of airdrop, right? So if these artists are coming out with a game or some kind of token for their team, then maybe, sorry, not their team, but their fans, then maybe there will be an allotment that is set aside, obviously not the whole thing, but a small allotment that is set aside for Splinterlands asset holders. And there would be then a pretty cool kind of cross promotion, right? Because for what would be the incentive for the artist to say, like, take 20% of the tokens that I'm going to issue and give it to Splinterlands players? Well, some of these Splinterlands players who wouldn't normally listen to this artist's music or even know about this artist will be introduced, right? So, in a town hall, maybe 6 months to a year from now, we might hear about artist XYZ who is new on the scene and wants to get, their name out there. And all of a sudden, they're being talked about in the Splinterlands Town Hall because Splinterlands asset holders, or maybe SPS stakers, or whatever the case is, could potentially get airdropped a certain amount of tokens based on how much you're staking or how much you hold. Again, this is all speculation, but that's kind of where I see the partnership going. So again, unless and until we get more information, That's just kind of how I see things playing out in that realm in an optimistic sense, right? In a pessimistic sense, maybe things are just completely separate and all we get is, this game by this artist brought to you by Splinterlands or created by Splinterlands, like a small logo on the bottom right. And that, will hopefully get people to check out the game or at least learn what the game is. That would be the worst case scenario. But, I'm trying to stay optimistic here. I mean, I am optimistic about this, and obviously the team is very excited about it. So that is my first big takeaway. We'll leave it at that. Now, the second thing was kind of offhand said by Aggroed about land and how land would have levels. Now, this makes total sense. I just, for some reason, never thought about it because land, as it stands, or at least what we know, is already going to have rarities, right? There's going to be, common, rare, epic, and legendary lands. But I never thought about lands having specific levels or leveling up your lands. At least if that had been said or mentioned before, it flew over my head completely. So when, this was in the context of like, okay, if you're going to have monsters working on it, are leveled up monsters better or worse or whatever the case is. And Aggro kind of said, well, you know what? In order to have leveled up monsters on it, you may need to have leveled up land. So I don't know what that looks like. A couple of months ago, maybe not months ago, but a couple of weeks ago, I put out a video talking about how I think land can save DEC in terms of being a place where DEC can potentially be burned in order to level up land. But again, I even looking back at that video and that thought process, part of me looks at this and says, talking about DEC, there's going to have to be a better solution for DEC. I mean, land can be a part of it, but DEC, I don't know. DEC is going to be an interesting one. But going back to land levels, that's just something I hadn't really thought about, and I hadn't really given, if I hadn't thought about it, how could I give it a second thought? But I haven't really dove deep into it. So now thinking through it, it's just how are we going to level up lands? And then, you'll want to have leveled up monsters to get the most out of your land. We're still waiting for some kind of details. Everything is still very, very much up in the air. The only good thing, I shouldn't say the only good thing, the only other thing about land, and let me see here, is that it looks like for the past 3 weeks, there has been a team dedicated to working on land specifically. So I know back in like November, December, they were talking about building out a team and having that team work only on land and not deal with any, putting out fires or any other server issues or things like that. So now it sounds like they finally have that in place. And keep in mind, as Aggro has been saying, as the team has been saying, and as somebody who has worked in a corporate environment, corporate structure before, it does take a while to onboard people. So, it's been a couple of months and now we're hearing about that, but at least now we have a team that's dedicated to really building this out and hopefully they can deliver something sooner rather than later. Okay, number 3, there's just been a lot of talk about bots, and I think what was interesting was Nate discussing how the game is going to change in the future. Now, he mentioned that there's going to be a change to, land is going to provide quite a big, functional change to the game. There's going to be new rule sets. Obviously, the rewards economy that is coming up, or the rewards update that is coming up, is going to be something big as well. And so, again, I look at this and I say, well, it's not really addressing the thing head on, but he's not wrong, right? So maybe instead of trying to go after what the bots are really exploiting right now, and I do believe that the team is trying to squash any type of actual exploitation. Otherwise, the team, as they say, is bot neutral. But as they move forward and as other things are implemented, it would be much more difficult to potentially run bots, right? And I think that is what the team is getting at here. Now, we don't have much information on land. We don't know what kind of rule sets will be coming out. With land, really all we know is that there will be a secondary step. So again, that could probably be programmed in, but I do believe that the more complicated the game gets, the less easy it is for bots to play, right? Because there's just so many, the game becomes so much more dynamic than so many different outcomes and ways to go about playing that it's not just, an auto card battler at that point. There's going to be certain other elements. So in that sense, I appreciate them kind of looking at it from that lens and sharing that perspective with us, because I think a lot of people look at this and say, well, they're bot neutral, which means they're bot positive, right? Like they don't mind the bots and they're allowing it. But the truth is that everything that they've done in the past has been to try to mitigate any kind of exploitation that the bots have. Now, moving on to this, there's another exploitation. So number 4, there's this whole win trading exploit that was not really addressed in the it was not really addressed head on. And the thing is, I'm not sure if, well, there's not enough information on it first. So let me first and foremost say that I'm not necessarily accusing anybody of win trading here. What people were pointing at, and this went back to kind of like the leaderboard video that I put out yesterday, is that, certain accounts were winning like 80 something matches, when other accounts that have the collection power and that were at the top of the leaderboard, some of the best players in the game, were, their win streaks were at like 11 or 12 or 20, whatever it is, nowhere near the the 50 plus that some of these other accounts had. Now, I think some of the some of the research has been done already to show that these were not necessarily win trading, right? And that some of these accounts, because of the low CP, started out in lower leagues and then just crushed their way to the top. And at that point, yeah, you can string together quite a few wins if you're starting from the bottom and you have the cards to absolutely crush everybody else, right? So in that sense, there is, I feel like, still an exploit there. Obviously, the leaderboard one is one that the team has acknowledged and that they're trying to, or that they said that they're looking into. This win trading one, it's one, the evidence has to be there and it has to be damning, right? And on top of that, we already know that the team is trying to address this by making the your opponents anonymous until you actually go into the game. Therefore, you can't be win trading. So actually, a little eye candy here is, this is going to be your avatar for your opponent during ranked battles and tournaments for when your opponent's name is and info are hidden, right? So again, this is just a little eye candy here, but this is one of the ways in which the team is going to try and stop this as an exploit if it is happening. Now, the thing is, if people are win trading in Champion, that to me seems very, very, very difficult, because then you have to have multiple accounts that are always near the same level, right? And therefore always near the same CP. So you'd have to have, and again, I'm assuming these would be bots that are exploiting it. When it comes to humans, that's a little bit more difficult, right? Because again, I'm not playing in Champion, and I'm not trying to accuse anybody of doing this, but some people have admitted to, like, oh, if I see this person, I just give them a win. And I'm like, okay, that's not really within the ethos of the game, but it's not, it's not being exploited in a way where, let me put it this way. It's something where, if it's being done on a small scale like that, it can be exploited with the addition of bots. But I think bots and the requirements that you would need to have for bots, being at a high level and having a high CP, doing it to one another, would be very difficult in Champion, probably even Diamond, maybe even Gold, right? Maybe Gold, it's much easier because you're able to have the CP there. But, I wasn't satisfied by the answer. Let me put it this way. I wasn't satisfied by the answer because it seemed somewhat brushed off. But at the same time, I think a lot of the accusations that were coming out that these accounts were win trading were proven to be false. So to me, it's just one of those things where, as a community, and speaking to myself first and foremost, right before I put anything out there, and I'm breaking my rule right now. Like, I haven't done the research on it, so that's why I'm trying not to say anything accusatory towards anyone. It's more so just, okay, there's a lot of stuff being thrown out there, and then when it, here's the thing: when accusations get thrown out and stuff like that in the AMA, and then the team, if they haven't had a chance to research it, or it just isn't clicking, they don't respond to it, then I feel like that turns a lot of players off. And at the end of the day, speaking hypothetically, if there was no win trading involved, then that accusation was false, causing a poor reaction by the team, which then got a poor reaction from the community, right? And none of that necessarily needed to happen if we just had all the facts first. So again, I get it. Nobody wants to have exploits, and I do appreciate the fact that people come through and try to call this out, because I think it's important, and the team, to their credit, is very receptive to this. So if we bring it to their attention, if you guys hear things or want me to look into something, let me know, right? Because I think it's important for us to be able to call these types of things out. It's a very small game. It's a very small team. Even with 100 people, it's a very small team, and stuff is going to slip through the cracks. Not everything is going to be overanalyzed, and stuff is going to be put out that hopefully we, as a community that is trying to help the team build the best game, because we all have some sense of ownership in it, will be able to, fill in the gaps, fill in the holes for that. So, yeah, that was just an interesting exchange that happened, and I was just like, oh, that wasn't really answered. But then after the AMA, I was looking into it, and I was just like, well, a lot of people are saying that this was not win trading. So that's where I'm at. Okay, last thing, short one here, but Hardpoint is going to GDC. Now, I don't want to leave out Chatter, because Chatter is going to NFTLA, and that sounds cool too. But as somebody who has been to GDC, GDC is awesome. Now, I run a VR podcast as well, and GDC, before the world turned upside down, so in 2019, I actually got to attend GDC as press. And obviously I was covering mostly VR related stuff or virtual reality related stuff there. But what's interesting, and I'm actually going to look into this a little bit more as to what is happening at GDC this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is a bigger focus on NFT gaming and crypto gaming, just with how 2021 played out, starting with the Axie boom and then everything that followed afterwards. You got Gala Games, Illuvium. I'm going to leave somebody out, so I'm just going to stop there. But there's a ton of games that have come out and have really captured the attention. And with the CEO, not the CEO, but like somebody high up at YouTube or in YouTube gaming saying things like play to earn is the future, right? Future model. I can see this very much being a huge topic at the upcoming GDC. And to have Hardpoint be a speaker there, right? Not just attending, but be a speaker, just shows, what kind of clout Splinterlands will have there. And, you guys have all seen Hardpoint speak. I love his energy. I love his enthusiasm. And obviously he has a great knowledge for what he does. So him speaking and talking about the game, talking about how the team has been built out, everything that's coming through and what their overall plans are, there's very few other ambassadors that I would want to be sent to GDC speaking on behalf of the game, right? So, and again, I'm not trying to call out anybody or leave anybody out. I'm just saying that I'm really glad, one, we're gonna have some kind of representation at GDC, and two, I think Hardpoint is a great choice for that. So Hardpoint, not that you watch this, but if you do, have a great trip. I'm a little jealous because I haven't been. I mean, yeah, last time GDC was in person, I was there. It would be awesome to have caught you live in person, but I am not going this year. So have a great time. I hope everything goes well, and Splinterlands gets a lot of positive vibes and attention from you. All right, guys, I think that's all I have. Yeah. So other than that, there was just this eye candy here at the bottom. Looks like the avatar. No, not the avatar, but the bronze shields for Modern and Wild. So, things are getting there. We're slowly getting there. But that's all I have for you guys in this video today. Have an amazing rest of your day. I will catch you all in the next video, and I will see you around the game. Let me know your thoughts on the town hall below. I would love to continue the conversation there. All right, guys, take care.